Oh, snap. What's up, guys?
What's up?
All right. So we're doing this without Rich today, guys. So welcome to another one of our editions of Drunk on Whatever You Give Us at this point, honestly. Whether it is handball in the Olympics, swimming in the Olympics, heck, even cricket. We'll talk about cricket if you want us to. But
Sure.
welcome, guys. How's you guys doing today?
Doing good. Yeah, today.
Man,
it's hot. It's hot out, so we're trying to cool off at the pool. Trying to I know Rich is traveling back from a nice vacay in the sun. So
yeah, I mean,
try to.
Like I was just thinking this entire time, like, wow, I should really do a show without Rich just because it'll actually be good. That's just what I thought. I mean, personally, just have Nick and Don go at it, go to a war of words,
And listen, we'll do our best tonight. We'll try to take it for what it is. There's a lot. I mean, it's been busy. There's a lot to talk about. So I'm excited to kind of break down some of the Flyers were busy. Eagles are starting training camp. I won't lie. I was kind of getting a little excited about seeing all the the guys in uniforms, the guys in training camp. Seeing Hurts in the number 1 jersey, Devontae Smith, Stevie Nelson's going to wear number 3. Not sure how I feel about the D-backs with the single-digit numbers and stuff. That'll take a little while to get used to, but seeing that stuff was exciting. So the promise of a new season is
what's up, man?
I think aesthetically, the single numbers definitely look better on the D-backs, though. I mean, I know what you're saying, but I like the look.
Yeah, I mean, it'll take a while to get used to, but for us as fans, I mean, we got I think I like the idea of they're definitely better than where they were at the end of the year last year.
Oh, for sure.
So,
I mean, I'm just like, there's an office talk. A lot of people are, they're kind of optimistic about the Eagles this season, and it's kind of weird because, at least Twitter does not think that's even the way that it's going to be.
I think a lot of that is from the way that the Sixers season ended, right? That carries a lot of weight, and it changes the way your mentality is, because the Sixers would have won that title, or at least would have played in that championship game. Then you're like, okay, this is the team we rely on. If the Eagles can just salvage 5, 6 wins, will be great. I mean, I saw something. Sporting News has them at 3 wins. I saw the over/under. I think the Vegas line is 6.5 wins, which is usually right. I think 3 is way too low, just because the Eagles have had good luck with first-year coaches, and that's just the way it's been for them. Also, there's always the effectiveness of the unknown, right? You knew when you lined up against the Eagles what you were getting from a Doug Peterson offense, what you were getting from a Jim Schwartz defense. Right. So now it's like, what's Sirianni going to do? Because is it going to look just like the Colts offense? Probably not, because him and Frank Reich worked a lot together. He's probably going to use a lot of the Frank Reich style of play calling, which is more of the modern NFL, right?
Right.
But Sirianni, people forget he's a wide receivers coach, so he's going to want to get his receivers the ball. I think that's going to benefit a lot of the younger receivers. Ultimately, having Devontae Smith should make every other receiver better, right? It's like when you bring in that guy that's supposed to be your number 1 receiver, then now Rager doesn't have to be the number 1 guy. And if he can just be, a guy that gets you 700 to 900 yards, a couple touchdowns, and just catch the ball across the middle when he needs to,
right?
It's going to look effective. I think a lot of the optimism, though, Oscar, like you said, Twitter, people are going to bash the Eagles because they're like, oh, they were terrible last year. I think the division is going to actually be better than it usually is, right? It's usually the NFC least, they say.
Right.
Washington's pretty good. The Giants are going to be better. They got a better roster. They get Barkley back. They added Galladay. The Cowboys are going to be back just because Dak's coming back.
Right.
So it's going to be a good division, but I think the Eagles could surprise people as well, just because of the schedule, right? last place schedule doesn't really mean a whole lot because the NFL is one of those leagues. It's not like the MLB or the NBA where like bad teams are bad teams for multiple years. The NFL, you see that tide turns quick, right? Like, because teams can have a bad, like the Eagles had a perfect storm of why they had a bad year. The bad coaching, bad quarterback play, injuries across the board. And that division, still nobody ran away with that. Like, so you have to just assume that the stars will align even a little bit better. And if they can just stay healthier, they're going to be better than they were last year.
Yeah, I think you're right on with all that. Like I said at the beginning, like I really think that they look so much better than where they ended mentally, physically. I like the new coaching staff and the new energy that brings. Nick, I think you're right with seeing that. Like, you're going to see I'm curious to see what the offensive philosophy is, what the philosophy is going to be on defense. The fact that we don't have to see the sticks defense again, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
Not giving up that field position on third down when it's 3rd and 24, that you give up 15, and now you're playing. Like, the fact that at least we don't know yet. We know we don't know what we're getting, but we also know that we're not getting we're going to get rid of that philosophy. And I like the more Sirianni's growing on me a lot. The more and more I hear about him, I was reading there was a piece in the Athletic for that Zach Berman is writing about Sirianni, and I like that everything is based on competition. We were all laughing about the rock paper scissors and how that that kind of played to this, like, what are they really doing? But the more and more I hear about things are going to be bred on competition and guys are going to be competing for their spots, and I think that's going to be a good place for them to build a young nucleus, because they've got a lot. They do have a lot of older players at the top end of the roster, but they're starting to build a young core of guys that I think are going to surprise a lot of people. I wouldn't be surprised if this offense is really productive.
Sure.
I'm not saying that they won't. I'm not saying I don't think. I think realistically speaking, you're talking somewhere between like 5 and 7 wins. If I'm looking at that schedule and I'm looking at it honestly. But I think in some of those games that they lose, could they score 24, 28, 31 points? Yeah. I think that offense can be productive if they run it in the same kind of vein where they're putting players in the best positions to be successful.
No, yeah, definitely going to agree, especially like since some of the tougher games at the beginning of the season, like it's best to have those games there so the offense just isn't kind of figured out at that point.
Right.
I definitely think that they'll give some 8-8 wouldn't be a surprise to me, honestly.
Can't go 8-9 now, man. 8-9.
You can't go 8-9. Right. Oh.
Yeah.
8-9.
8-9.
Jeff Fisher's going to come back and coach now because he can never go 500 again. Yeah, I agree though. Like the defense too. I'm excited to see the defense. From what they've been saying with Gannon is he doesn't run one particular style of defense. So he basically does it. It's look based on what the offense or what the defense is given. You know what I mean? Right. He can say, okay, we're not going to just stay with our sticks defense. We're not just going to run a 3-4. We're not just going to run a 4-3. Like Jim Johnson had a base defense that he would run out of. In the new style NFL, with that, you need the right corners. So I think them going and getting Nelson, at least now you don't have to see Maddox on the outside. Thank the Lord. Right. So if you push these guys into the more natural positions, it's going to automatically make the defense better.
I think that one move helped them in 2 spots.
Sure. McLeod coming back is going to matter. You saw a big difference in this. So I think it was the first 7 games or so last year with Slay. He was solid. Like he wasn't great by any means, like with the interception numbers, but he was solid enough where like, all right, he's my number 1 corner. I can put him on the number one receiver and know that he's going to be solid now. And then after that stretch, they had a stretch where he faced a lot of tough receivers, and that's when McLeod got hurt. So you saw he was basically on an island in that whole secondary by himself, because we already know what we were getting out of Jalen Mills and, all these random guys that they had to plug and play. They need to turn the ball over more. So do you know who led the Eagles in interceptions last year? And it was two interceptions.
Was it a defensive end?
No, it was Marcus Epps, who should never see the field.
I thought it was going to be this weird statistic where it was going to be like Brandon Graham. I couldn't remember.
It's obscure, though, because he's not a starter or anything like that. But just the 2 interceptions alone is crazy. I mean, I think they were still 8 total. I'm saying 2 was the team high. Like, he was the individual high. They were still 3rd in the NFL in sacks, I believe, which was crazy. And it's just like, usually when you're getting sacks and you're getting the quarterback like that, you're getting turnovers, right? But the secondary was so bad that it's like, whether it was whether it was a deep ball flag or your guy was still getting beat, because you got guys like us 3 playing corner in the NFL, basically. Guys that, like, I respect, like, they're out there trying to prove it, but, like, they're really not starter NFL quality cornerbacks. So
no,
Steven Nelson, he's not elite by any means, but he's definitely much better than what we had.
Much better. And it's a guy that you can rely on. You can stick him out there.
Number 2. You just give him number 2. Absolutely. He's not going to have to play in this division, right? You're going to have to put Slay's going to have to play Galladay. He's going to have to play McLaurin. He's going to have to play Amari Cooper. But we got a lot of good receivers. So now Nelson, he matches up better with the Curtis Samuel, with the Darius Slayton, with the CeeDee Lamb or Michael Gallup. So, like, now it's not like I have to worry about Avonte Maddox or Jalen Mills on those guys. At least I have a guy that I know for sure can at least hang with these guys because he's an NFL cornerback. You know what I mean? So
and he had
better, just the defensive wise, they're not going to be as bad as they were last year because, like we said, the new systems, healthy roster, they're adding some players. So there is optimism. I think 5-7 Rome is exactly where we should be.
Right?
Could they win 8 or 9 games? Yeah, absolutely. Could they win 4 games? Yeah, it could happen. A ball bounces here and there in football. Oscar knows, it's a game of inches, right? So a guy misses a kick or, a crazy play at the end of a game, like something happens, like that stuff does happen all the time. So, Vegas is usually right though, 6.5. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm like, but to me, that's a logical step. If you had the season that you had last year, and now progressively you didn't make any
back home runs.
I was going to say Harper hit it inside the park, and then McCutcheon hit one. But looking at
crazy,
like looking at those first 6 weeks, with and I know we went through the season, but like we went through the schedule a little while back, but they've got a rough. There's a rough stretch where they could they play. They're playing at Dallas. And then they play Kansas City, Carolina, Tampa. Mm-hmm. Like there's places where, and that's the hard part where it's hard. Like there's places where you could see that they're probably going to lose. They might lose 3 or 4 in a row.
Yeah.
But just like any other thing though, like I guarantee you there's going to be games that everybody had penciled in as a loss that for some reason they're going to like everybody's like the Chargers.
Yeah.
Like the Chargers coming east. In the middle of the season, it's a late game. Like, could that be a game that swings? Like that, like we don't know, and it's foolish for us to sit here and call a game that's going to be played in the middle of November. But I think I'm excited because it's something new. We're getting a new version of what we know, and I think I'm looking at in training camp trying to see where these guys kind of slot in. Some of the guys that they drafted, like a guy that I would love to see get the field, whether it's at safety, whether it's on special teams, whether it's at linebacker. It's a kid they drafted in the late, I think it's in the 6th round, Jacoby Stevens. The kid they drafted out of LSU.
Yeah.
Is a guy that just balled out in the SEC. Like I love taking guys from good programs
Sure.
that are going to be that were super productive there at a really high level. And if their philosophy is to take that guy and put that guy in the best spot possible, I think, he's a guy that, if he puts on 15, 20 pounds, could he slide in the middle and play, a Mike linebacker?
Yeah,
If he's
probably.
fast, if he's fast enough and he bulks up, can he be, Dawkins light?
Yeah.
Like, so like that's a guy that I'm looking at that I'm saying, I want to see what kind of place they kind of put him in for that spot. Nick? Who's a guy you're looking at in training camp?
I mean, the health thing is going to be important to me. So, like, I think that defense is huge, but I want to see how Brandon Brooks looks, right? Because I think that if Brandon Brooks is healthy, he makes that whole entire line better. When he's healthy, there's a reason why he was an All-Pro, right? He's the best guard in football. Him and Quentin Nelson, the two best guards in football, hands down. They're both healthy. So if he's, I don't need to see him taking every snap, right? I just need to see him with no hesitation when he pushes off. Oscar, the Achilles injuries as a lineman, that's where you generate everything from. Yes, so, like, you need to make sure that you can move laterally and you can push those 300-pound guys that are pushing the same way, and you got to feel sturdy. So, he came back from it last time and was great, but this is the second time, right? And he's not 25 anymore. I want to see how healthy he looks. I do want to see Miles Sanders because I think that in an offense with Sirianni, he's going to want to use Sanders a lot of ways, right? Like we talked about before, in that Colts offense, they had Taylor and Himes, and they both were pass-catching backs. They both run between the tackles. He's going to want Sanders to prove, like, hey, if you want to be my workhorse, I'm going to get you touches, but you need to be efficient with those touches. Now, obviously, a lot goes back to the offensive line, right? Last year, that offensive line was atrocious. So I don't blame the way Sanders played necessarily, or even the way the quarterbacks played, because you're dealing with like, you're seeing ghosts constantly. You're hearing footsteps in the backfield as soon as you snap the ball.
Right.
There's a lot of the young kids I want to play. I like Kayvon Wallace. I like him too. I do. And then going back, I saw Chris said something about Alex Singleton. Now I like Alex Singleton. I like the way he plays like his hair's on fire, because he has to, right? He's not physically gifted. He's not one of those guys that's going to walk onto the field and just dominate. He's not a Luke Kuechly. That's just not who he is.
Right.
I give him a lot of credit because he doesn't quit and he plays hard. I just think that the way that this league is going now, if you watch a lot of these teams, they have those playmaking linebackers, right? Whether it's, you saw Fred Warner, Bobby Wagner, all these guys on these teams. Like the Cowboys have two of them with Jalen Smith and Micah Parsons. And these teams are just adding these guys that just can cover and they play defense. And it's something that, since Howie's been with the Eagles, they don't draft. They don't draft that playmaking linebacker. They tried it with Michael Kendricks. It never didn't really work out necessarily. Not that he was a bad player. It's just I don't think they really developed him the right way. So it's something that they need to do. They need more linebackers. So we'll see. If the front four plays well and your secondary is good enough, then if you have decent linebackers, you're going to be fine, right? You don't have to have a stud in the middle if that front four is getting pressure, and the secondary can at least cover a guy for 3 seconds.
Right, and I think like bringing in TJ Edwards, that's an upgrade.
Sure.
For what you had, and I think that's another place where like it slots Singleton to play outside. Maybe Jannard Avery is a guy who plays on the other outside. So I think by him sliding in the middle, it slots those guys in a more natural position. I think, adding guys like Ryan Kerrigan, that's not going to hurt them. That's going to help them. That's going to be, when you can then, you're slotting those guys that they brought in are upgrades over who they had. And it also it's addition by addition, like it's addition but it's also adding to 2 different positions.
Correct.
So, I'm just gonna, like, this to me is not a year where I'm not living and dying by anything. This is a year that I'm just going to kind of watch and see exactly what we have so that we can see, all right, you're a guy, you're a piece, we can move forward with you. We're going to move on from. You're going to see what you got in Sanders. You're going to see what you got in Hurts. Can Sanders be a guy who goes north and south and doesn't run to the sideline? Is Hurts a guy that can be consistently accurate in the NFL? When he was playing, in the SEC and he's playing in the Big 12, like nobody plays defense. So he's throwing the ball all over the field. He's got so much time to do it. Can he do that consistently at this level? Is he going to be somewhere between like Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson-ish? Like, I don't know, but I think it's smart to kind of see what you have if he's the guy at the beginning of the season. And I say that because I think if Howie has a master move on the back burner, I think Watson is I think they are jonesing to make that move if everything else is taken off.
I was going to say we'll get into that because that's a whole nother issue. I saw Oscar's pulled the graphic, but I wanted to ask Oscar because Oscar really he doesn't talk about a lot, but Oscar knows football, man. He played football probably more than all of us. Played football his whole life, so he does know football, both sides of football. The European football and American football. So he just never. Rich doesn't let him talk, man. So I want to hear Oscar talk a little bit.
No, honestly, training camp really it's just kind of and like preseason too. You kind of want to see how the defensive back play and the whole system and how that's going to play out because there was definitely a comment just essentially saying like just this better secondary is going to help the D line. It's 100% factual. If you have faith in that, you have more confidence. Confidence just means you're going to play better. That's in every single sport. But besides that, I'm just really excited to see Joe Flacco. I don't know about you guys.
I haven't run into.
Did you get your jersey yet?
I actually didn't. I didn't.
No,
I didn't. No. I know where the optimism is coming from, and it's really because like when's the last time the Eagles had a decent number one leading their line, and wide receiver? It's just like I can't actually like pinpoint that they had one that's for sure that they didn't spend top money that was aging. Like I just can't remember that besides maybe Deshaun Jackson back in like in the early 10s.
They had Macklin and Deshaun Jackson together.
Yeah,
they were solid. They weren't. They both. Neither one of them could like by themselves though would be a guy like them together worked. Yeah, like he said T.O., but that's the thing. You just said like without having to spend the money to go get that guy.
Yeah,
and that T.O. experiment would have been great if they both weren't babies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But that's probably it, Oscar. Like Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Macklin. Who have we drafted since those guys that have actually been a decent wide receiver? Even with McNabb, they never drafted Todd Pinkston.
No, they've never truly invested top-notch draft capital.
Who's the receiver? I can't think about it. Oh, all right. So I got the name now. You should get it, Don. He was an All-American in college, played South Carolina. He was our first-round pick, and he was supposed to be next big receiver coming to the league. Came to the NFL, and he was just very average.
It's from South Carolina?
Yep. So he's an SEC guy. He came up. He was an All-American. He had really good numbers. Played a couple years, nothing great under Donovan. It was with the – are you talking about Freddie Mitchell? Not Freddie Mitchell.
Nah, Freddie Mitchell was UCLA.
Yeah.
Reggie Brown.
Yeah.
Reggie Brown.
I literally
thought that Brown, and like they just always have had bad luck with drafting of the receiver. So like Oscar, now Devontae Smith there, he's a Heisman winner.
Yeah.
Right. So the Eagles track record will tell you that like even though he's a Heisman winner, like what is it going to work out? Now I think sometimes the player dictates a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And where they're drafted because where they're drafted does matter. If you draft it to the right system, a good quarterback, you have good receivers around you. Like you can't. Not everybody's Calvin Johnson where you can come into a team and just be quadruple covered every game and still dominate, right? So it's like like not everybody can do that. So
Right.
now Rager, like they drafted Rager, and then he's like, oh yeah, I'm the guy, and then he gets here and he's like, this market is tough, man. I don't know. I'm not Justin Jefferson. Yeah,
no, I think he went through about 16 Twitter handles last year, hopping on and off.
Yeah.
But and again, this is that same thing I'm talking about, that addition by addition. Maybe when you slot Devontae Smith and he's going to get CB1 every time he lines up, maybe that opens up stuff for Rager. Maybe that that allows you to put guys, does that allow them to run, if Ertz is here, Ertz and Goddard on the same, maybe they're open down the middle. Maybe that area in the middle is now open where they can really start to take advantage of putting those guys in the best position possible. And if Smith is even remotely close to what he was at Alabama, I mean, he should be able to get open for CB,
Sure.
like against whoever he's playing
Even
against.
with the size, because he has a
Yeah. I mean, he looks.
Yeah,
seeing him in that jersey, seeing him in that 6.
Yeah,
looked pretty sweet.
So, like, the thing is, I'm just trying to think about, I think the offense dictates a lot, right? I mean, always does. Like, with Peterson, it literally was like, we could watch the game and be like, all right, now you look at their formation, like, this is what they're going to do.
Right.
So why is the defense, why are we not surprised they didn't get a 50-yard touchdown? Oh, because the defense knows what they're going to do too, right? Oscar, if you know what they're going to call, you can get your defense per position and be like, all right, it's 3rd and 2. They're going to run, they're going to do a little check down, and we're just gonna cover the tight end off the line. They're not gonna have anything to do.
Right.
So like now, if you run that offense, I think you're gonna get a mix with Sirianni of some of that Frank Reich 2017-18 Eagles offense. You're gonna get some of that, but you're also gonna get those wrinkles that you'll see with like the Cardinals, where they run those read options and they run those sprint right outs. They get him in bootleg situations, and because Jalen Hurts is a small guy, right? He's 6 foot. They say he's 6 foot. He's 6 foot. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have, like, you hear the Russell Wilson comps. Russell Wilson has an elite arm. Jalen Hurts does not. Right. Jalen Hurts doesn't have the arm strength that Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson have, because those are both Division I and MLB baseball players too, right? So like, he doesn't have that arm strength, but he does have a knack for finding space, and whether it's using his legs or kind of like how Drew Brees would always find a hole in the line, hit that target. He's going to have to do that. So I think that Sirianni recognizes that he's going to have to use him to get in space or get him going early. A young quarterback that you need to get his confidence up. You're going to run put him in shotgun. You do a play action, then you just do a quick 8-yard slant or like a curl route with Smith, get them both going. And then, then the corners cheat up a little bit, and then you take your shots.
Right.
You have to do stuff like that. It's going to be good to see just a new offense, man. I was just tired of seeing the same shit every.
Yeah. I mean, and listen,
it's like the play sheets were the same. You got a coach that tells you he runs out of plays on 4th down. Who runs out of plays, bro?
Like, to me, if we're sitting at home and we knew the formation, we knew the play that was coming, like, we're not studying hours and hours and hours of tape, and we're not analyzing, we're not putting game plans together. We just sit down on Sunday and watch the game and we know what's going on. I mean, that to me was the most frustrating part at the end of the season last year, was like seeing the same vanilla stuff. It was literally like they made a game plan on week 1 and they just changed the cover sheet and hand it back out. Because it was legit the same thing every week. They're not like, I mean, and I'm sure you guys know, like, how many times are we talking about, like, you got to get Wentz on the move. You got to run, like we're doing that. And
we see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes you think. It really does. Like, sometimes, like, that whole thing of, like, being the smartest guy in your room really does drag you down, because when everyone thinks they're the smartest guy in your room, you're like, you just keep on doing this. It's going to work eventually.
Exactly. And if you're the smartest man in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
That's your mentality, right? Because somebody should know more than you, and they might not know more about, I don't know more about science than Don, but there's something that I know more about that he doesn't know. You know what I mean, Oscar?
Right.
It's like,
Yeah, and it goes around. Yeah, that's the kind of you want to surround yourself with.
Absolutely. That's how they should think. And a lot of them don't think that way, I'm sure. So, like you said, they're like, I don't care. Like, I don't need that. I want a Super Bowl. You know that definitely comes into play.
Oh yeah.
I can guarantee you he could be going through his, like Doug Peterson was going through his burners accounts on Twitter. So he's like, how did they know about football? I want a Super Bowl. Like
how he does that when he wakes up in the morning. He looks in the mirror. He's like, I want a Super Bowl. I don't care what these guys do. Just keep gaslighting everybody, thinking that he knows football. He's like a 5'8". He's not even 5'8". I'm not even giving that much credit. He's a 5'5" dweeb, dude. He's not know nothing about football, bro. So I'm saying you have these non-football guys making football decisions. Like Oscar, you know, the Ravens, they have Ozzie Newsome making football decisions. He played in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Broncos had Elway making decisions.
Elway, right.
All these players, like these former, like the Niners, they have John Lynch making the decisions. He should be a Hall of Fame player. It's like you got these guys that know football, even if they played in college at some point. What the hell? Yeah. He's like, I watched football on TV when I was a kid. Yeah, so did everybody else. That doesn't mean that I should be like, you know, I don't think I'm qualified.
You're the general manager, right?
I think Oscar could tell me whether or not an offensive lineman can play better than you can.
Which is bad because I don't run a team.
No, but you could be like, oh, I remember like that guy. He's got good technique. You know, do you think Howie knows that? Maybe. I mean, he should at this point, but I don't know. He's gonna have to get lucky. This draft is gonna make or break him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Put my screen down.
Yeah, I mean, them having all 10, like they got all the draft picks signed. I think, you know, they've got a couple of, you know, chances that they took on guys like Dickerson. I think if he pans out, that's going to be a great place for him to slide in when Kelsey retires.
Yeah, Kelsey or whoever goes first type of deal.
But I also love, I heard him in an interview talking about like, I'm trying to win a spot. Like I'm not going in saying I'm going to be the backup. Like that was a guy who on a torn up knee wanted to go and take a snap in the national championship just to be on the field to be able to support his team.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that you know, if he pushes somebody and makes them earn their spot, even if he doesn't get the spot, but he pushed somebody to earn the spot over him.
Sure.
That competition is only going to breed more success for the players on that team. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah, but this is actually a good question. What team is Aaron Rodgers going to be on? I mean, I definitely think he's going to be a Packers, but I mean,
yeah,
you know,
he just reported today to camp. They're kind of they're incentivizing a contract for like this year. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be his final year, basically.
Right, for this year. He
made it seem like it's going to be this year. That's why he's pushing him to go get Randall Cobb back again, because he does want to try and, you know, he's a competitor. People can say whatever they want. That's why people call him Karen Rodgers online and stuff like that. I'm like, it's whatever, dude. Like, if I was that good, I'd be, you know, I probably would have the same type of mentality because he thinks he's the best and he thinks he deserves the best. Like, that, you know how many years they've failed that man and that with that roster. Like, it's kind of criminal. So like to even be as good as they've been with him there, with him carrying a bunch of scrubs sometimes, it's kind of like, you know, they can say that they don't owe him anything and he could say the same, but ultimately the organization is successful mainly because he's been your quarterback. You went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, right? Two first ballot Hall of Fame guys, two of the top 10 quarterbacks ever. So it's like you got lucky with drafting those guys,
but you don't give them anybody.
They both had tough falling out. So it's like, is it really an organizational issue? It has to be, right? It's the same ownership group. I mean, it could just be they have philosophies, I'm sure, where they don't want to invest high round draft picks in certain positions. Like I get the first round running back, that kind of, unless it's a generational talent, you don't do that now. But like they had their chances this year and the year before and the year before that to draft first round receivers. And they're just like, you know what? Nah, we're going to take another lineman. We're going to take a defensive tackle.
Yep.
And like, you know, I think he understands that you need those positions to win too.
Mm-hmm.
But how many times did we see last year and the year before the guys like Geronimo Allison and Valdez Scantling drop balls that hit him right in the hands for touchdowns?
Yep.
It's like I know that he's probably like, yo, dude, This is see, and he's probably hitting him in the hands of, like, as he's doing it, he's like, I hope the ownership sees this. Like, I'm hitting him in the hands. He's grabbing the ball.
Do you think the whole thing with and Jason just brought this up, but the things that Devontae Adams, that whole situation with him saying he was ready to walk away. Do you think that pushed the Packers to figure something out?
Of course.
Yeah. And smart move on him, because he's like, well, if I see that you're not going to take care of that guy, and that guy's your franchise quarterback that you're essentially building everything around, then what makes me feel like you're going to take care of me?
I mean, as good as Devontae Adams is, a receiver a lot of times is only as good as their quarterback sometimes, right? So,
and who's he want? Does he want Jordan Love? Or does he want Aaron Rodgers? Right.
And I think that's why he's due for an extension too. And he told them that contracts, he doesn't want to do any more talks. Like he said, I'm done talking with extension talks, because, why would he commit to that now and then be in the same position that like the Texans are with Watson? Watson committed early, and then after that season, it kind of collapsed. Bill O'Brien blew the roster up after that. And then then he's left holding his bag saying, yo, the fucking cupboard's bare. What am I supposed to cook dinner with, man? I ain't got nothing in here. I can't cook you a gourmet meal with top ramen and fucking frozen peas. I need some filet mignon, some bacon. I need some shrimp. They had those players. Protein. They got rid of them. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, but I mean, like the fact that the Texans got rid that trade of Hopkins to the Cardinals was like robbery, like highway robbery. Like there's no way that's one that the NFL should have stepped in and be like, yeah, you can't trade that guy for that guy. Like I don't care if the salaries match up.
Pull David Stern and be like, you know what? I know you guys like this, but I do not. I don't think this is fair.
You really got to think, like, did they say, like, was he just drunk at the hotel, Bill
O'Brien?
A bartender, and just be like, yo, just trade him. I think it's hilarious. And then did it and just went through with it. Or two, there's like some type of let's say, I mean, you don't know how these GMs kind of go around, but like, let's say, hey, look, you guys are going to have somebody that we want, and, do us a bone and throw us a bone when, his contract's running down, just send us your way, something like that.
I mean, that definitely could happen. They probably are friends in some capacity, right? These guys have all crossed paths in the league.
Right.
And I think that's one of the issues with having a coach be your GM, right? Like Bill.
You can't play both sides.
Bill Belichick and Andy Reid are the only two that really, because you trust their knowledge of player personnel.
Mm-hmm.
So Bill O'Brien, like, what did he ever win for you to give him that much power? It didn't make any sense. It's the whole Chip Kelly thing. They gave Chip Kelly all this power, and then you're like, you think back about it, and you're like, yo, why did we ever give this man that much power? Like, what did he ever do? He didn't even win a college title. He didn't even win a title in college. Bill O'Brien, the same thing. Like, okay, you coached a good program. You put a lot of players in the league, but this is the NFL. So what did you win at the NFL for me to give you this type of power? And then especially, it's crazy that they didn't hire a GM for that long. They never I think initially the GM stepped down, and then they just gave him the power, and then they let him make all these decisions. Like, they're like, you're going to trade your franchise top 3 receiver in the league, a Hall of Fame receiver, for an older running back that was really good before he got hurt, and then I'm not even going to get a first round pick out of it.
Well, it's like
you know what? I really like David Johnson. That's a good deal. Okay, I like David Johnson too, but I'm not going to trade him for DeAndre Hopkins. And
right, I'm not trading him for a top.
And I don't even get
3 wide receiver.
I don't even have to give up. If you're the Cardinals GM, you're like, Steve Keim was probably like, bro, this is not real. I'm being punked right now.
Right. Where's the
if you went in Madden and did that, there'd be like a Joker would just start laughing at you, like, no way, dude, no way we're gonna do that trade.
Well, I remember that like people were trying to do that on Madden, and
I thought it was from a fake account. I saw it. When I saw it leak, I was like, that's a fake account, dude. No way. And I was like, people, it's a real account. That really happened.
It's wild. But it reminds me of like that year that Brett Brown, like that period of time that Brett Brown took over as the GM, and he And he famously makes that draft day trade and trades Bridges for Zaire and gets the extra first round pick. Meanwhile, you had the guy that you wanted, you had the guy that this team needed on both ends of that floor, and I just like both of those things. None of those periods of time make sense. And like you're saying, Nick, Bill O'Brien didn't do anything to earn
exactly
any of that control to be able to make those decisions.
It's like Oscar, right? It's like you're in, or like, in work environment, right, Don? You have there's a teacher that is one of your teacher colleagues. They just have a bachelor's degree. But people like them. They're like, oh, you know what? They're really cool. They're really cool. And then they're just like, yeah, the principal stepped down. We want to make them the principal. And you're like, why? And then they give them the principal, and then they just do all this crazy stuff because they're the principal now. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden some person that's just a teacher, doesn't have like a master's in administration, you know what I mean? And you're like,
right. University of Phoenix.
What makes you think this person is going to be a good principal? Now, sometimes it could work out, I'm sure, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes people step up to the plate, but overall, like in business, that doesn't happen. So You're telling me you're going to run your multi-billion-dollar company, which is an NFL team. It's a billion-dollar company.
Right.
Run your company and let person that calls the plays on the field, that has to worry about game planning, player conditioning, scouting, all this stuff. They're also going to have to worry about finances now, trades, who's available, who I want to move on from. First of all, it's a lot, right? So like Belichick's not like the sole GM. He has guys that he relies on a lot for that.
I mean, he's got an army of guys, right?
Like he has final say, but he doesn't technically do all the GM work.
Correct.
Right? So it's like you're going to let Bill O'Brien he does look like he's drunk, Oscar. He looked like he was drunk all the time.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, like, I wouldn't be shocked if he did, like, in the office when Robert California closes a branch line. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he was just, coked up and, like, drunk and just, like, did it and then woke up. He's like, I did what? Like.
He probably did. He's probably like, damn, I'm going to have to. He's like, what am I going to do now? If once that trade went through, he sealed his fate. There's no way that first of all, the fan base in Houston, the players, I'm sure were like, it was like a mutiny.
Right.
Playing for this dude. We can't trust him. He just traded our best player. Because at the time, you have your franchise quarterback, but Hopkins was their best player. So it's like you're going to just trade my best player for what? Like, I'm not even going to get a first round pick for him.
If I'm Watson, like that, like the second that trade's made, I'm like,
yeah. When have you ever like you look at any 4 or 5 year gap in NFL where because usually it's like a 3 or 4 year span where there's one receiver that's the best during that time. There's never been a time that receiver that's been at that level was traded. I don't even know if they've been traded. 1, 2, it'd never be traded for that low of draft capital.
Right.
Like I'm trying to think. Antonio Brown was never traded. Randy Moss was traded when he went to the Raiders, but like he wasn't the same Randy Moss then.
No. And then you're talking about Randy Moss from getting traded from the Patriots. Like that's
and then it's like Jerry Rice was never traded. I'm just trying to think of like Megatron was never traded. Traded, and if they were, like, do you think that the Lions would have traded him for anything less than multiple first round picks?
No.
You think that the Niners would have traded Jerry Rice for anything less than multiple first round picks?
No.
Like it never happened. So the fact that it happened, it's still to this day, it doesn't even make any sense.
Oh my God. I thought we got rid of this guy.
Hey, Rich.
Oh.
Turn the Wi-Fi off.
No, but honestly, I think we should just kind of move on because I just realized we talked about this for 45 minutes. I mean, there's a lot to digest, really. It's just like
it really is
pieces. Like it makes you think. Like Nick always brings up good points when it comes to the point when there's so much to do as an NFL head coach, and when you're responsible for being the GM as well, it's you're literally only asking for disaster. Like
right.
Because being a coach is hard enough. Guys can't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, being a coach is hard, but they just have to worry about literally one position sometimes. They can't.
There's no question. Yeah. I mean, you can make a career out of just being a running back coach. Like that's
absolutely for sure.
But how about Deshaun Watson? What do you guys think? I mean, just just out of everything you've been hearing and what his price is, how ridiculous is that?
All right. So first of all, that like we have to take the on-field stuff and talk like if any of whatever they're talking about turns out to be factual in any way, and it's anything that is anything against women, like bye, like go, like I don't. But so for this conversation, let's assume that the NFL that there's he's just a creepy guy who likes weird stuff when nobody's around, and just say that like he's not getting right. He's not he's not getting suspended. He's not like all that aside. When you hear Chris Mortensen say it's 5 picks and it's 2 later picks and it's a player, let's remember that that's the starting point. Like this is like buying a car. They're going to ask when you go to buy a car, they're going to say, all right, Nick, the car's going to be $38,000. And you're like, yeah, no, we're going to go back and forth. We're going to go. So like where people get caught up and I say like, well, the price tag is too high. They're not like, no one walks in and buys a car and says, oh yeah, I'm going to pay $38,000. They're going to negotiate. They're going to go back and forth. They're going to offer this. They're going to say, oh, well, we're not going to give you all 3 first-round picks, but like, what if we gave you 1 this year and 1 2 years from now? And like, there's all sorts of wiggle room. If you have an opportunity to get that guy, I think you'd be foolish not to investigate it thoroughly. And I think they are. I think they've got guys that are looking into legal stuff. They've got guys that are looking into whatever. And the way that I gauge this is that is the guy that you have now, is his ceiling ever going to be close to where Deshaun Watson is?
No.
That's a good point.
And Deshaun Watson's young. Like Deshaun Watson is not.
He's 25.
Right, he's 25. He's not 32 on the tail end of his career. So in that case, I look at that and I'm saying, I'm getting a guy who's 25, who's a top 8 quarterback, maybe like
higher than that, right? Now. Argument, he's in the top 10 for sure.
Like I think you'd be foolish not to say like, all right, if we have an opportunity to get that guy, does he make Smith and Rager and Goddard and Sanders? Does he make them better? I think he does.
I mean, I'll say he threw for like 5,000 yards last year with who was his number 1 receiver last year? Brandon Cooks.
Yes.
And who else did he have? Kiki Kuti.
I drafted him, but I thought he would be better.
So like he threw for that many yards with a bad roster around him. You know what I mean? So I think that if he came to the Eagles, I think Sirianni would maximize his skill set. So I think that he would probably be a top 5 guy stats wise in the league.
Right.
I don't think that's really debatable. I've said this before, like if you put him on this team right now, the Eagles win the division because he's that much of a difference maker. If you do
absolutely.
This roster, you win the division because he's that good.
Right.
So it's like,
he instantly becomes the best quarterback in the division.
Sure.
He instantly elevates the play of
everybody,
all of the players around him.
Literally everybody on the offense, and then the defense is better because the defense can play more free. Oscar, you'll know that you understand this. You can play more free when you know that you think that every time he touches the ball, he's going to score a touchdown. So you're like, I can take a chance. I can take a chance and undercut this route and get it and try and go for a pick because I know next series Deshaun's going to come down and just throw and we're going to score. It's like when you have that confidence, it's like the Chiefs. That's why the Chiefs are so good, and the Buccaneers were so good because you're like, when I have a quarterback that's at that level, I can be more. I'm confident in my ability already, but now I can take that chance I wouldn't always take. Like instead of sitting back and just playing the route and just trying to pass defend and knock the ball down, I can try and jump that route and get a pick. or I can go for the
Correct.
strip sack instead of just the short tackle. It's like, so the defense is also playing better because you have a quarterback of that caliber. So like he makes the coaches look better. He makes the linemen look better. It's crazy how the one position can make everything look better. The price tag is high, but like you said, it's a negotiation, I think. And I think that price point was set specifically because they know the Eagles have that capital.
Right.
So they say, like, now the Eagles can't say, well, we don't have that much. They can say, no, we know you have those 3 first-round picks.
Right.
We know you have those extra picks. We know you have a young quarterback that we'll gladly take from you if you're going to give him
Correct.
a too. So it's like, we'll take Zach Ertz too. You want to give him to us? Like, they'll take those players to try and match the money you're going to have to anyway, because you need to match that salary. Now this year, I think he's making $10 million, but then I think next year he jumps back up to like $30 million or so. It's
30
like
something, yeah.
I have to look at Spot Track and just see specifically. But this year is the last year, I believe, of his rookie deal. So then he up next year for the extension. Now, the NFL, even if he's clear to this, the NFL is probably going to suspend him because that's what they do. But I just saw today that if it goes to trial, it's not going to be until February, and or it's going to be at the end of the year. Maybe there might have been another. Trevor Bauer's got stuff going on too. One of them. I'm getting my wires crossed on both of them. So the Deshaun Watson one, they said it's not going to be for a while, probably because they're still investigating. I think there was civil cases, and now there's police reports too, which means that they're not seeking money. So like they're intertwined. They're trying to figure out who's, his team. I'm sure he's got a really good lawyer that's going to say who just wants money, who's like, is he a creep? I mean, pretty clearly he's probably a creep.
100% probably.
100% he likes to get his body touched, okay? And he likes to touch women's bodies, whatever. I shouldn't say whatever. I have a daughter.
Yeah, but
I mean, like, you want to do that with your wife.
I know what you're talking about, right?
Girlfriends, like, whatever, do that. But like, you're at, massage parlors, stuff gets out, make you feel uncomfortable. That's not cool. So, like you said, you have to investigate this if you're the Eagles, because if you're able to get him, is it worth it? I would say on-field play, no doubt. The publicity could be bad if they go and pull that deal now, or in a month from now, they go and get him, and then it turns out that it's worse than what's being reported, because you don't fully know the details. They're not going to release every girl's report and every statement and all the messages and all the back and forth. They're not going to release any of that. It could be better than what's been reported, but also could be way worse, right? It could be really bad stuff that he's doing. So it's like, do you take the chance? And like I even said, like, hey, if he gets cleared, like if he's like, he settles, he does like one of those things where he settles out of court, and then the NFL is like, you know what, we're just going to suspend you 6 games. And I heard somebody, they were like, well, if you get him for 6 games, it's still not worth it. I'm like, him for the 17-game season, I get him for 11 games at that price. Like, if I can just give up Hurts on like 1 first this year, 1 first next year, I'll still do it.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that when I have him for those 11 games, we're going to win all those 11 games. That's how good he is as a quarterback.
Well, because you know what you're getting. You know that you're getting a guy who, anytime he steps on the field, is going to have a chance to win the game. Where Hurts hasn't proven that yet.
A wild card. Could he be a very good quarterback in the NFL? Yeah, he could.
Yeah, he could be. But
I
his ceiling
correct
is not even going to get close to the average production that you're going to get from Watson.
Yeah, I mean, the basic stats show the mobility with Watson and Hurts is basically the same. Watson's bigger. He won in college. He won in high school. He has the stronger arm. He's done it with nothing. We've seen him do it multiple years in the NFL with good receivers, without good receivers. And he's 25, like you said. He's already signed long-term. He's going to come in and he's going to figure out the offense, and they're going to be fine. So, like, the ceiling that he has is just much higher because he's more talented. That's not a knock on Hurts. I like Hurts as a kid. I think he's a good kid. I think he's going to be pretty solid, like as solid as you can get. But people need to temper their expectations and realize, like, you got people that go like, he's Russell Wilson, he's Kyler Murray. No, he's not. He's not, because if he was, he would have been a first-round pick.
Yeah,
Been a top 5 pick.
Every team in the league wouldn't have passed on him.
And that's the thing. Like everyone thinks it's like you got him for a steal. No, you got him for what it's worth. To be completely
Pretty
honest,
much.
yeah,
Maybe even higher. He might have went to the 3rd rounds if we didn't take him there.
I mean,
Oh, no.
honestly, like that was a guy and we talked about this way back when they drafted him, but that was a reach on so many levels. And there was, we don't have to go through the laundry list of guys that they could have drafted at that spot that would have helped them instantaneously. So, but it's kind of this holding pattern. Yeah, the thing that drives me nuts about this is like it's incessantly polled on social media, and it seems like it's the same question every day, just worded differently. So like, we can talk about it till we're blue in the face, but until the off the field stuff gets resolved, whatever it is, it's going to just be, and the Eagles will, because of the draft capital that they have, will always be at the center of this conversation because they have the most capital. It's kind of like where the Sixers are with Simmons, right? Anybody that they're talking about trading, the Sixers probably have the best package to offer a team for whatever player that's going to be, because no one else on any other roster in the NBA that's being offered in a trade is going to approach that skill level.
Sure. And that's why if you're the Eagles, the ball is in your court, kind of, because
right.
If I'm the Texans GM now, like Caserio is much better he was under the Patriots organization, so he can get 3 offers from 3 different teams and then just say, hey, Howie, listen, can you beat this offer? This is what I have on the table, and I know that you have the assets for it. Are you willing to do it? If not, then I'm going to take this offer.
Right.
So you know what I mean? So he could still come back to you after you gave him your original offer and say, hey, can you do better than that? And then Howie would have to gauge whether or not he could. Now, but also I think Howie knows that this guy could be a guy that even cements Howie's legacy as like one of those great GMs that he wants to be. Because if you go and get him and you're a perennial contender in the NFC, then he looks great.
Right. It puts it does exactly what Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman want, which is put the Eagles back in the limelight. It puts them back in prime time. They're playing on Sunday night, Thursday night, Monday night. They're not like they are this year, where they're playing. I think they have They have a Thursday night game, a Sunday night. Like, they have like the bare minimum of primetime games. Yep. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Fuck that dude. All right. So let's just move quickly on this one, since this is coming up. Any trade deadline moves you think it's coming or expected?
I mean, they made a move today, and Nick, did that go through? I heard there was some. It went through, and then there was some hiccup with one of the guys, one of the prospects.
It's delayed because one of the prospects had a medical concern, so it's whether or not they want to accept that player or they're working on a different guy. But he's like a 4th or 5th round starter.
Fuck that dude.
Who is that? Is that Rich or is that you?
Rich, yeah.
That's right.
No, but no, it's the fax machine. Fax machine broke, right? That's what the trade didn't go. No.
But no, I mean, the guy that they traded for today, like Tyler Anderson, is it a guy who's moving the needle? No. Is he reliable? Sure. I mean, I saw there was a statistic Jason Stark put out about comparing him and Velasquez, right? Because Velasquez is one of the guys at the back end of the rotation in terms of pitching 5+ innings in each start, right? Velasquez has pitched 8 out of 16. He's had 8 games out of 16 starts where he's pitched 5+ innings.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Anderson has pitched 18 out of 18.
Correct.
Where he's got 5+ innings. So at least you're getting a guy who's going to eat innings, save your bullpen. Maybe we don't have to see Matt Moore.
Yeah, please.
Spencer Howard, like talk about a prospect that they missed, like huge swing and a miss, like slow pitch softball strikeout kind of miss. Like Spencer Howard, that was a guy that they talked a lot about when he was in low A and double A, and like now
he doesn't have any stamina, man. I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah,
I mean nothing. Like
he's throwing 97 in the first inning, and by the third inning, fourth inning, he's like down to 91, 92. Like that's a big problem, man. These guys in the pros, they're holding their velocity 4, 5, 6, 7 innings. So I think like now, if you're not going to trade Howard, you're going to have to convert. You're going to have to work with him to convert him to, like, you either figure out how to get his stamina right, or you're going to have to convert him to a reliever. The issue is
you just pitch him short relief.
Yeah, once you go to a reliever, you can't go back. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're not going to be able to go back and mess with a young kid like that. So it's either you figure out, he's still young enough where they can figure out,
yeah, absolutely,
what you want to do there. But it's an option, because if you look at Suarez too, as a reliever, he's got much better stuff. He throws harder than as a starter. So it's like, it might be more effective that way.
Oh, absolutely. But I think
I haven't seen anything else though, Oscar, with the deadline moves. There's
they're
going around. They're looking at a bunch of guys.
They're
like ready to give up. That's the problem.
Yeah, like they're in this horrible purgatory where the guys that they got aren't good enough to compete on a day-to-day basis, but they don't have the farm system to give up compared to the Dodgers, Padres, whoever, White Sox, where they could make a move. Like, could you say, like, yeah, put together this monster package for Kimbrel, get Kimbrel and Bryant, right? That would solve your center field issue. That would solve your back of the bullpen issue. That makes things, it allows guys to slot better. But you don't have it, like, who are you giving up?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't, like, you're not giving up anybody, like, because you don't have anybody that anybody wants.
Yep. So we have to go for guys like Tyler Anderson on bad teams that are just trying to get younger, that are moving whatever they can to help. So, like, yeah, unless you're going to give up, if you want to get Kimbrel or Chris Bryant, it's going to cost you Alec Bohm. It's going to cost you a guy like that. It's going to cost you a Spencer Howard or, some of these other guys that are our top prospects. If not, we're going to be stuck with this roster the rest of the way. You're going to add some reliever that they add that'll be like, he's okay. If Tyler Anderson's all, then I don't know. I don't think that's enough. But
no, but like Bohm is a guy that I'm not married to at all. Like
Bryant for Alec Bohm, yeah. See, Alec Bohm.
and a bunch of other guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You're going.
I mean, the guys that they have, or like. Nick, who's the guy they got playing first? I'm drawing a blank. Not first, third.
Oh, Torres.
So, like, he's more reliable defensively than Bohm is.
Absolutely.
Like, now, especially, like, the last couple games, Bohm is essentially a pinch hitter. And he's not even productive in that role.
Correct.
So, if, and he's another guy. Another young guy that they were married to, and he was untouchable coming up, and he just hasn't done really anything.
The typical Philly. You draft him third overall. He's a polished kid coming out of Wichita State, got really good numbers. They talk about his power bat. Where's his power? I haven't seen any pop from him this year at all.
Nope.
He's a 6
And he was a guy who, he's a guy who we thought, like, has that Jason Worth kind of build, but not even close to anything any kind of production for him at all.
Yeah. That's all we got on the Phillies, Oscar. There ain't much going on, bro.
Nothing.
They're losing right now too, so
even after 2 back-to-backs.
Yeah, they're losing 6-4.
Dang, hate to hear it. But
so, Oscar, before we do final thoughts, the Flyers were super busy.
Oh, we should actually. Yeah, you're right.
Super busy. And not that we have to go through each of those moves, but I think the overall thought was all of these moves are directly related to protecting Carter Hart.
Yep.
It's to getting beef in front of him, getting guys that are going to improve the tenacity of the defense, guys that are going to hit like Ryan L. Like he's a guy who's going to hit people. Like there are guys the guys that they brought in are guys that are going to come in and be more of a defensive presence, which is only going to help Carter Hart.
Yeah, and I mean Cam Atkinson, what was it, 2 years ago? He had like 40 or 50 goals. So it's like
right.
You're
He's a guy who's going to come in and shoot.
Yeah, no, I think
not like Voracek who's going to pass every time he gets.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with Voracek, but at this point in his career, he's not. He's more of a secondary or a role player. He was getting paid to be a star, and
his problem is that he doesn't shoot.
Yeah, he wants to try and be fancy and pretty, and it's like Drew does enough of that for everybody, so everybody else should just shoot. So they made a lot of good moves. They made their roster much better,
so much better
that Hextall never would have did. So I like the Risto move. There's a lot of flack. Like, is he really that good? I'm like, it's hard to judge a guy that's on such a bad team. The Sabres have been terrible for 10 years. They've been terrible. They drafted him. He's a big physical dude. He likes to hit people, but also like you kind of have to take into account when you're on a really bad team. It's like in soccer, Oscar. If you're the main defenseman on the really bad team, you're going to try and do more than you really should be doing because you're trying to either get guys going, you're trying to make something happen, you're trying to say hey, I'm still playing hard.
Right.
So he was trying. That's why he would get beat sometimes because he would overcommit, play the puck more than he should have. So it's like on a team where he's probably going to be on the because you're probably going to put Ellis and Provorov together. That's a really good defensive starting line. And then if you put Risto with they're saying Sanheim. I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if they would do that.
It could be, but like the combinations are so much better now.
Yeah, and then you can mix and match. Yandel's so good on the power play too. He's like top 10 in the power play every year. He's just ridiculous on the power play. He's not the same player he was 5 years ago, but he's reliable. He's better than me seeing Gostisbehere back there, seeing Haig, who doesn't know how to even play the puck. He just sees man, hits man. Doesn't even know. He never knew how to play the puck his entire life. So it's like I can actually see they're trying to put guys that actually play defense, but they're also skilled too. Like Ellis can score, Yandel can score. Provorov, we know Provorov's got that big slap shot from the blue line. So you have to make your young goalie that's your franchise player better and more comfortable.
Right. And that was like you could tell in that short span of all those moves that that was the priority. The priority was to secure, to make that area of your team better. Again, it's addition by addition. You're making Hart better by all these moves, by putting all these guys in place. And I think, getting guys that are going to shoot, not pass up shots, getting guys that are going to act like that are trying to score. You did nothing but secure that area. But I like the Gostisbehere trade was one that I just had to laugh at because I had to look twice, and I'm like, wait, they didn't get anything like that side of the ledger when they were talking about what they gave up.
Yep. And
it was like, oh, we got cap space.
Yeah.
All right. Like
it's fine. It's
whatever.
Sometimes you need to.
They needed to get those guys out.
Yeah, and the Atkinson thing, I love his mentality because he's a little dude, but he's he likes to shoot, man. He likes to score.
Right.
He's got that listen, even though I'm not the biggest dude, I'm a killer on the ice. That's his mentality. So you put him on if he's your second line guy, he basically if he literally looks like Konechny, the same build, same player, but he's a sniper. He likes to score. So when you're on the power play, if he's playing with G, G's going to try and set him up for some shots, real quick. And the mentality, they just needed to get some new blood in the building, some new life, some something different because in hockey, hockey is one of those sports where it's a quick turnover too. They didn't make the playoffs this year. They were pretty bad. I think that this year they're going to be a really good team because it's just like the Eagles, right? It was a perfect storm of everything going bad. The Flyers started off real good, then they stopped scoring. They forgot how to play defense. Hart was giving up easy goals because it was the offensive line thing, right? When you start giving up easy goals because you don't have any help and you're just expecting like, I'm going to get 60 shots on me this game. So It is what it is. So it's like now I expect them to make the playoffs. I expect them to be a good team. I expect them all to have a little more confidence.
And they still have cap space. So I'm expecting them. They still have I think like a second or a third line center that they're going to add. So I think they still have cap space to kind of make a couple of moves. But again, so much better than where they ended the season last year.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. We're good, Oscar. Now we can do the final thoughts. A little delayed, a little bad.
There we go.
I'm just like, so the Flyers are supposed to be good. Noted. So when they suck, I'm just going to go back and be like, I thought they were supposed to be good, Don. You lied to me.
Listen, we'll go back and we'll publish all the lies.
Listen, I
in January, February.
Just saw a stat that said Keith Yandel has played in 922 consecutive games.
That's the longest active streak.
I don't know, but Provorov 371 too, like without missing a game. They just play, man. Hockey players are a different breed, bro.
Seriously.
Dudes are wild.
They're just built differently.
Yeah, and it's like that's a physically demanding sport. You can imagine because they literally run as much as soccer players do, except they're wearing ice skates.
Somebody was explaining to me one time. They're flexing the entire time.
Yeah, you do. You ever ice skated before, bro?
I've never had, so I wouldn't know.
It's really hard on your legs, man. If I went and ice skated, if I did it for an hour, my legs would be sore for the next 3 days.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
You don't do it every day. Yeah, it's like it works every muscle in your leg. And then to stop, you have to use your hip, and it's different, man. It's tough. That's why these guys
fighting the entire time too. It's not like you're jogging. You're
yeah, and then they're fighting, they're punching each other too. On top of it, they're getting hit with slap shots in the face.
Yeah, imagine being like on skates and you're essentially floating on clouds, but you get smacked.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine that.
That's why I talk about how Tom doesn't get enough credit for being like as one of the hardest sports to play, man.
No, absolutely not. It deserves more respect. But Don, final thoughts.
So, shout out to Simone Biles, right? Mental health and making sure that that's a priority. I've kind of gotten into figuring out how to prioritize that and realizing that if the mental health piece is not in place, none of the other stuff matters.
Yeah.
So shout out to her for being able to recognize that on the world stage in front of everybody and having the conviction to be able to say, hey, listen, my head's not in the right space. I'm a detriment to my team. I'm going to step away so that it helps them.
Yeah.
So shout out, mental health, greater than sign, everything.
Definitely.
I think is she supposed to be doing her single stuff though? Because if she does her single events, it's a bad look, man.
Yeah, it is. But it was so when I looked at.
Go ahead. Sorry.
When I looked at the thread of apparently in the one event her score was so bad that if she continued, it would have taken them out of medal contention completely. So by her stepping out, it's still her score was replaced by one of her other teammates who had a better score than her, so that it gave them the opportunity to still be in medal contention.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it wasn't saying that oh, well, I just did bad in that one event, so I'm going to step away. It was the fact that she knew that it was such a negative score and it was going to so negatively affect their team score that if she didn't step away, that it would have cost the entire team contention at a medal.
Mm-hmm. All right, Nick, your final thoughts?
I'll just say, just because Don brought up the Olympic stuff, so I haven't watched any of the Olympics, but I've been checking and seeing what what kind of what some of the sports are doing. I always check the basketball, whatever. This basketball team is a joke, okay? And it starts at the top. This is Greg Popovich. All right. I've said this before, not on this show, but he is one of the most overrated coaches in sports history, period. Okay. Because he'll bring up the NBA titles. Okay. If I had that roster, I'd win NBA titles too, multiple times. You have the best power forward ever, one of the best centers ever, one of the best point guards ever, great role players. A small market where the media doesn't care about anything you do. You know what I mean? It's like, and then every time I have to watch him give an interview, he's rude to reporters, thinks he's funny, and then he brings his politics up all the time. I don't care. I watch basketball to not hear about politics. Politics are everything. I don't want to watch basketball and hear what you think about the election. I don't give a shit, to be honest with you. I don't. And then you're going to come in here, you're going to have this roster. You still have there's only probably one player in the rest of the world that's playing on a roster right now that's better than anybody in the roster, and that's Luka. That's about it. You have Doncic, and then everybody else on your team is better than everybody else.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're even losing at all and not blowing teams out you shouldn't lose a game by less than double digits. I mean, you shouldn't win a game by less than double digits. You shouldn't lose anybody.
I mean, 3 straight games.
The issue
not is, 3 out of 4.
It's the coaching, because it's a mentality thing, right? So if Pop is going to have that attitude where he's going to be cocky and have an ego, then why would you expect the players to not feel the same way? The one reporter asked him about you guys probably saw, a reporter asked him a question, a legit question.
Yeah.
And he didn't give him an answer, and he said, why are you – and he said basically that he was lying, and then the guy had the stats that showed that he was right and Pop was wrong, and then Pop didn't want to hear it. He's like, you're going to let me answer the question? You want me to answer the question? And I'm like, I had enough of this dude, okay?
Right.
If he didn't win those titles, he's one of those coaches that he's going to be the coach there until he decides to retire, because it's San Antonio. He won a lot of titles when he was in San Antonio. And it's the market down there. They probably love him down there, even though he hasn't done shit when all his players retired. Good coaches win after your best player retires, man. Okay? If you're a good coach, you find ways to win. So I'm just tired of him. I hope when I see stuff like that, like, as much as I want the USA to lead in medals, when they start doing stuff like that, I want them to lose. Because you got a better coach as your assistant head coach who should be running the team, and that Jay Wright should be running that team, not Greg Popovich. And why is Greg Popovich running the team and why is it not somebody like one of those younger coaches, or even, not Mike Budenholzer, he just won, but like somebody on that level that is a younger guy that, wins games, like Nick Nurse on the Raptors. He's a good coach. Somebody like that. I mean,
yeah.
Jay Wright has the same pedigree that Coach K had, but Coach K ran the team. So just Jay Wright has multiple national titles, leads a non-blue blood program to national titles, develops players, makes sure kids get their education, does it the right way. Why is Popovich still the coach? You know what I mean? And I know that Jay Wright would answer reporters' questions.
Right.
And he would tell the player,
you're right.
You're still, just because you're Kevin Durant, you need to be Kevin Durant. If I need you to get me 35, you're going to get me 35.
Right. And like, we're not talking about like the teams that they're playing are not superior talent.
It's like I'm saying, it's not soccer where nobody expects us to win. Nobody expects USA to win in men's soccer. But basketball, we should dominate. It's not even like up for argument. It's not like this roster is like all college players. These are legit NBA all-star players.
Right.
All these guys, if they were on any other country's team, would be their best player by far.
You expect gold with that roster, no matter what.
You should not just expect gold, Oscar. I should expect to see blowouts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to see, if I go on DraftKings and the line for the USA Nigeria game, it should be USA minus 27, and I should be like, I'm gonna put money on that. They're gonna cover, but they won't, and I'm not putting money on it.
No, I mean it's crazy because like there's no way I don't care if it's the first game. If you lost those games leading into the Olympics, like you needed to go out in that game and set the record straight and say nobody's going to even touch us.
Yeah, we were just having fun.
why is JaVale McGee and Keldon Johnson getting legit minutes in the middle of that game? Why? Like, I felt like I was watching. Like, I'm like, is Brett Brown on the bench coaching? Like this was it boggled my mind. I'm watching this game and I'm watching that lead slip away and slip away and slip away, and I'm like, holy, like they're gonna mess around and lose this game.
Yep, and then you see the way that the refs don't call those flops that the players are used to getting.
Mhm.
Right.
In the NBA, if you come near me and I lean into you for my shot, I'm going to get a foul called and I'm shooting. And they're European refs. So FIBA, they're like, listen, you didn't get hit. That's not a foul, dude. Grow up, be a man. And these guys are like, come on, man. Like Luka came out, as good as Luka is, he said it's easier to score in the NBA than it is in Europe.
Yep.
People thought that was crazy, and he said, no, because I can get to the line 20 times in the NBA.
Well, how about him? How about him in that opening game?
Yeah, he's a good player, and he's proven it.
Dominating.
Yeah, they might win gold with him scoring 40 every night.
Seriously.
Yeah, but I guess
Oscar, final thoughts.
My final thought, I just sticking with the Olympics. The U.S. just got bronze in skateboarding. So that the only reason why is because they drug test. No good skater does not smoke weed. That's like an actual thing. Like in order to get the height and the vert, you need to be high. Like that's just like something that I was.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. It's like in How High.
Yeah, exactly.
Test high, get high scores.
It's just like it's just this whole drug rules is a little outdated. I mean, like there's so much like. Was Usain Bolt and Michael Phelps? They have like so many medals combined and freaking nations combined.
They're both potheads too.
And both potheads. I think that shows you enough that it's not a performance-enhancing drug if it makes you just eat.
I think that the hard part with that, Oscar, is that it's so many nations. It's every country, right? They all have to agree to that. So, and there's some countries
never change.
Like China and some of those countries like that will never.
China's a tough one.
They'll never go for that. You know what I mean? Jamaica's probably like, bro, we haven't drug tested our athletes ever. You guys are looking hard on us.
The fact that they give it to you as a welcome home gift.
They're like that's part of their when they come home and they're parade, we give them their own trees.
Yes.
Like
that's their care. It's part of their care package.
Yeah, it's part of their care package. They get a brand new Kush plant they can just put in their front step.
They arrive to Japan, they open.
I agree though, Oscar. I mean, they should be like how the sports are here, where a lot of them like they don't test for weed, but they test for other stuff, like test for testosterone boosters and steroids and Adderalls if they don't have prescription stuff like that. But
I wouldn't be surprised if stateside, if like in the next couple years, if the major leagues are not testing for that.
Well, NBA doesn't now.
Yeah.
Right.
But
like if across the board, if they're not testing for it.
The NBA doesn't, and the NFL doesn't now either. No.
Yeah. Yeah, but
the only sport that still tests for weed, I think, is baseball. But I don't think they test specific. Like it's not like where they're drug testing you because they think you're smoking weed. They drug test you because they want to make sure you're not on PEDs. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the NFL used to test for like everything. So they took away the weed. Now I don't think they get you for that. That was part of the new CBA, I believe.
Yeah. That should be how it is. But yeah, I think we're gonna end it on that.
You guys like it better without Rich? We'll take a poll. We won't have him come back ever. Oscar's better than Rich, right, guys?
That's what we all agreed. I think somebody just said yes. I don't know.
We'll put a poll up. Oscar's gonna put a poll up.
All right, we'll do, guys. But anyways, thank you so much, guys. Wow, we really did.
Go check out the merch store. The link is at the top of the Twitter feed on the Drunk on Broad Twitter feed. Go buy some merch.
Yeah, and like just buy a shirt because I didn't buy one yet. So do that, guys.
I'm waiting. I think there's a time in August when it's either like 20 or 30% off.
Oh, there we go. That's what we're waiting for. But you see, we have one yes. That's all we needed. But anyway,
there we go.
Majority rules.
It's unanimous.
Majority rules. Later, guys.
All right, peace, guys. See you next week.